Hi, my name's Sue Rawcliffe and I run Sweet Seams Sewing Academy. Today we're going to make a very simple tote bag. It's a beginner's project and you're going to need 75 centimetres of medium weight cotton. This is a cotton canvas which is perfect weight for making a bag. So what will you need to make this tote bag? Well, you're obviously going to need a sewing machine. You're going to need a tape measure and a ruler of some sort. If you've got an L-shaped ruler, that's very useful. Pins, something to mark your fabric with, and some scissors. So the first thing that we have to do is mark our fabric. Now we're going to need 2 pieces of fabric for the main part of the bag, and they need to be 42 centimetres by 46 centimetres. And for the straps, you need 2 straps, 12 centimetres by 75 centimetres. The best way to mark the fabric, if you've got one, is to use an L-shaped ruler, because it does mean that you're able to get very accurate corners. However, not everyone has an L-shaped ruler. So a tape measure, a pen, a marker pen, or tailor's chalk, or even a pencil is fine for marking. Now to mark your fabric, if you take your tape measure, put it at 42, and I'm using a washable marker. If you mark at one side and mark at the other side at intervals, so halfway, make another mark over here, and then again at the top, make a mark there. And then you can take your ruler and obviously join your lines together. And do the same for the other piece. So we're going to measure it 46 centimetres in the other direction. And again, make a couple of marks. Now we're going to cut everything out. So you need a good pair of dressmaking scissors, and we're just going to cut along the lines where we've marked. Everything's now cut out and ready to sew. One thing that we didn't talk about was pattern matching. This has got quite a small pattern on it, and I cut it out side by side so the birds line up quite well. But if you had a large pattern, you would have to take that into consideration. So now we're going to pin our fabrics together. We're going to sew the bag with what's called a French seam, and that means that all the seam allowances, the rough edges, are enclosed in the centre. And to do that, we're going to first of all put the fabric's wrong sides together. Now we're going to put a pin in, or pins, all the way down the side, about every 15 centimetres. And we're going to put the pin heads facing the way that we're going to sew so that we can take the pins out easily. Carry on pinning round this side. Obviously we're not going to pin the top edge, because we need to leave that edge open. So I'm going to put the fabric under the machine foot and lower the foot down. I'm going to use the edge of the foot as my guide, so the edge of the foot is against the edge of the fabric. This is so we can sew a 0.75 millimetre seam, and I'm also using a different colour thread so that you should hopefully be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm on a straight stitch about 2.5 centimetres, and this is my back stitch. So I'm going to go forwards a couple of stitches, backwards a few stitches, and then I'm going to sew, taking the pins out as I go along, keeping the edge of the foot on the side of the fabric as my guide. Now when I get towards the corner, I'm going to sew into the corner, and then I'm going to use the hand wheel just to get myself into the right place, lift the foot, turn the fabric. It's not quite on the edge, so I'm going to do another turn on the hand wheel, another stitch, and then try again. That's much better. And then continue along the bottom of the bag. Using a small sharp pair of scissors, you need to trim around the 3 seams that you've just done. Trim them down by about half. Having sewn the 3 seams and trimmed them, I'm now going to turn the bag through to the other side so that it's now right sides facing each other. Poke out the corners, and then you need to take it to the iron and press it so that it's really sharp on the edge, so the seam is right on the edge of the bag. So with our fabric pressed and also pinned, I'm now going to put it back underneath the foot. I'm going to put it in the same place. I'm still going to use the side of the foot as my guide. I'm going to take the first pin out and do exactly the same thing. Go forwards a few stitches, backwards a few stitches, and then sew the 3 sides, taking the pins out as I go. I'm now going to turn the bag through to the right side, and again push out the corners. So the bag part is now finished, and I'm going to put that to one side and make the straps. Now we're going to prepare the straps, and I have pre-ironed it so that it folds in neatly, but firstly we're going to fold it in half lengthways and press using the iron. Once you've done that, you then open it up and press the sides into the center pressed line so that it looks like that. Then when you fold it in half again, you can put pins in along this opened seam, and then we're going to sew along. With the strap pinned, I'm going to put it underneath the foot, and I want to sew quite close to the edge. So again, I'm going to go forwards and backwards. So I've picked a place on the foot with my eye so that I can keep it in a straight line. One of the most difficult things when you're starting out is sewing in the straight line. And if yours is wiggling around a little bit, it doesn't matter too much. It's a bag. Now, it's a good idea to also sew down the other side. It gives the strap more stability. Obviously mine is sewn with orange thread, but actually it's quite a nice feature. I'm now going to place the straps on the top of the bag. Now I've already pre-pressed 2 1.5 centimetre seams on the bag because it helps to fold it in neatly. But for the moment I'm just going to unpress that. I'm going to take the strap. The most important thing is that you don't want your strap twisted when you sew it on, otherwise you've got to unpick it again. So if you hold your strap at both ends and then place the pieces down the same direction, you won't have a twist in it. We also need to measure the distance between the side seam and the strap, and about 9 to 10 centimetres is a good distance. So that's 10 centimetres, I'm just going to put a pin in there, and then I'm going to measure from the other side seam, the same distance, 10 centimetres, and then I'm going to put a pin in this strap. Now I'm going to sew on the straps, and so I'm just literally going to sew across the strap forwards and then backwards to secure it firmly. And I'm going to take the fabric out of the machine. I'm going to sew on the other strap. In the same way, forwards, backwards. The straps are now sewn on. We've got to fold them in. So I'm actually going to put the straps on the inside of the bag. And because I've pressed the top of the bag, I can just fold the strap underneath on the first side and then pin this edge down. And you're going to pin all the way round, and then we're going to sew the straps on. So you fold your strap in the first time and then fold it over a second time, and it's all neatly enclosed. Having pinned all the way round, I'm now going to sew along the bottom edge of the bag. Now I've started here just before the side seam, because if you can see the side seam is quite thick. So we're going to start by going forwards and backwards, and then I'm just going to show you how to sew over the side seam. So because it's quite thick, I'm going to use the hand wheel. I might also need to lift the foot a little to make it go through, because it's a thick edge. Once you're over the worst of the thickness, you can put your foot on the pedal again. And then I'm going to sew over across the handle, and then I'm just going to keep going all the way round the top until I reach the other side. We've now folded the handle back out to the outside and put a pin in it, and I'm going to sew across the top edge of the handle. Again, it's quite thick, so you need to be a little bit careful. You can just sew the top of the handle and go backwards across the top of the handle there. You could equally sew all the way around, and that gives it a bit more stability to the bag. And a nice finish. It looks the same all the way round. So I'm coming up to the second handle now. Again, I'm sewing slowly because it's very thick. Slowly over the handle. And when I get to the side seam, I'm going to have to sew slowly. And again, I may need to use the hand wheel to help me over the side seam. Just a couple of stitches just to bit of foot pedal just to keep it going. So here's our finished bag, and if you've completed it, you should be very pleased with it. The teenagers that I teach, they often do a little dance when they've finished a project, so I hope to see you all doing a little dance. I hope you've enjoyed our tutorial today, and if you'd like to see more, please subscribe, like the page, make comments, and if you want to look at the fabrics that we sell, go to our website, which is sweetseams.co.uk. Thank you.